What's going on, everybody? Halo Drama here, yet again with another Rewind Rumble reaction video for you guys. This one's going to be Izuku Midoriya versus Miles Morales. I know about Young Midoriya because I've seen My Hero Academia. Typical anime trope kind of character in a sense is like he starts off all weak and frail and fragile and whatnot, and then he turns into one of the best fighters in the whole damn show. Typical anime type shit. Miles Morales Spider-Man, I've heard of him, but I honestly personally don't know much about him. I've heard he's awesome, I heard he can do some shit, but I've personally never seen anything with him. Sorry, I got nothing for that one. If I'm behind on that, then so be it. Let me know how you feel. But let's see what we got here. Let's go. Don't mind me as I take a sip of my tea.
Passing down the torch from one generation to the next has been the natural way of order since the dawn of humanity. Peter Parker can't be Spider-Man forever, and Toshinori Yagi certainly can't be All Might for all of eternity. This is why it's important to make sure the next generation is in good hands. Bring in Miles Morales and Izuku Midoriya. Which city is going to have the brighter superhero, Musutafu or New York? Today, we answer that question. Today, we Rewind Rumble. You know the saying, never meet your idols? Well, the first time Izuku met All Might can play a great example to that statement. But let's set up some context. In the My Hero Academia universe, roughly 4 out of 5 people are born with quirks, aka a superhuman ability. Izuku, of course, was quirkless, which may have put a dent into his immediate goals, but it never crushed his dreams of eventually being like the all-time favorite hero, All Might. One day, Izuku had the rare chance to meet All Might, and All Might pretty much gave him the typical douchebag celebrity treatment and told him that without a quirk, his chances of being a hero were pretty much zero. Izuku was shocked, but also a bit too starstruck to give up his hopes right away. After multiple encounters, Izuku managed to convince All Might that he was hero material. Luckily for Izuku, All Might's quirk was extremely special as it was a combined strength quirk and a passable quirk known as One for All. Izuku was able to inherit the abilities after consuming All Might's hair. As for Miles, his first encounter with Spider-Man, at least in the 1610 universe, was a bit more dramatic to say the least. Excluding the alternate universe Peter that comes by and visits, Miles' first time with Peter was actually at his gravesite. Peter had one last battle with an enhanced goblin, and you should know how that ends. Peter's demise was bad news for Miles, not because he wanted to be Spider-Man, but because he didn't want to be Spider-Man. Sure, Miles was bit by a similar radioactive spider, and ever since then he did gain similar abilities, but he wanted nothing to do with them. Peter's death forced Miles into a situation where if he didn't take responsibility as a hero, he would face grave dangers and threats. So now you know how these two got their powers, but what exactly are their powers? Miles, of course, has very similar powers as Peter with wall crawling, enhanced physical features, and a spider sense, though there are a number of new abilities that Peter never possessed. Miles has a spider camouflage, which allows him to naturally blend into his surroundings / turn invisible, and he can control the natural electricity that his body produces with his bioelectrokinesis. For example, he can send an electric shock from his hand with the Venom Blast, which is essentially an electric-powered punch. If Miles wants to take things up a notch, he has a fully blown energy blast which can self-implode if under extreme stress. This blast will leave him drained after its use, but its power is extraordinary, as it was once seen destroying heavily armored sectors of the Hydra Laboratory. And of course, I can go into detail about his abilities that he shares with Peter, but we've covered Peter many times in the past, so you all know how the web shooter works.
I needed that to look better. I don't know if it was blurry for you guys, but it was killing me.
Izuku, and to many, Izuku is known as Deku. Deku's quirk gives him access to stockpiled power. Deku can concentrate this power to specific parts of his body, and it's important for him to power up responsibly because maximum power can easily harm and damage someone who isn't well conditioned or fully trained. Some of his most iconic techniques include the Detroit Smash and Delaware Smash.
I was gonna say he can fuck himself up too.
Extremely powerful uppercut that can
at least in the beginning.
Building floors, though at full power, it's detrimental as it can damage Izuku's arms. This is why he prefers using the 5% Detroit Smash for an increased power punch that doesn't necessarily hurt his own body. The Delaware Smash is when Deku focuses the one-for-all's power into his 2 fingers. It's a very powerful attack, though for beginners it comes at the price of breaking the user's fingers. However, power-up damage was only a major problem until he learned a technique known as full cowling. Though even with the full cowl, it's still not exactly safe to input 100% of the power, so Deku mainly sticks to 5 and 20% cowl. Because of this, he was able to learn more techniques, such as the Manchester Smash and a fully developed fight style known as the
shoot style.
The Manchester Smash is an aerial kick attack, and the
shoot style
is a variation of when Deku channels the one-for-all towards his lower torso and legs. Though desperate times call for desperate measures, and as a last resort, Deku can activate a one-for-all full cowl at 100% that powers up the entirety of his body. For a short amount of time, he will be an extreme force to be reckoned with, but any attack he performs at this state will damage him, so it isn't exactly a preferred route to take on the field. Both characters have tremendous powers and abilities, but they are not without their flaws. Most of Miles' training comes from watching old Peter Parker videos, so he greatly lacks the hand-on training that Deku has received. Deku, on the other hand, can easily get himself into trouble if he powers up to a great extent without recovering. Overall, both characters have achieved so much success in their short goes as heroes, but they also have much more to learn. So we now know what they can do and how they can do it. The only question left is, who can do it better?
This is a battle of proteges, I guess.
And now it's time we set ourselves a circumstance. Since both characters are very young and still developing, for this match it wouldn't make sense to throw in any variables into the equation, so the standard Earth no prep situation would be the best option. Once that circumstance bar has finally loaded, it's time to rewind rumble.
Yeah, I do remember Midoriya going, I think it was 100% or near 100%. He had that girl on his back, she kept healing him or something like that.
What are you gonna do, card me? I'm 13. Okay.
Ready? Rumble!
I really don't know who to predict for this. I guess I'm kind of in Midoriya's corner because I know way more about him than I do the Miles Morales version of Spider-Man. I know nothing about him, just that he exists. Excuse me.
My mom and dad are gonna kill me.
Excuse me. Yeah, and I see they're using that Marvel vs. Capcom sprite of Spider-Man for this.
Makes total sense.
Obviously, just with a different color palette. Wow, I really thought that would have broke him.
Not so fast, ugly!
Yeah, he fucked up his hand doing that shit. That's what Midoriya does. Okay. Like I said, I really didn't know who to root for. I just went with Midoriya because I know more about him.
I hope you enjoyed that animation.
Apparently I
And if
need
you
to
did,
look into
special
this
thanks
Miles
to Team
Morales
Animation
character.
Rewind Discovery.
Apparently he's
Also,
got
stay
hands.
tuned. At the end of this video, after we announce who's fighting next, there is going to be a bonus animation by Josh Medley. Don't forget to download the latest Animation Rewind app, Blip the Box, and stay tuned for the post-analysis. Our winner is Miles Morales, and it shouldn't be too hard to figure out why. Miles is easily statistically superior to Deku in many ways, starting with speed. Miles humiliates Izuku in his base form. Base Izuku is really only peak athletic human, and when he uses his quirk upgrades, his best travel speed feat would be when he jumped roughly 100 feet in a half a second, about 10 stories high. This puts him at roughly 136 miles per hour, which is fast, but we've seen Miles go much faster. Miles was fast enough to tag an airborne Stark suit, which at bare minimum puts him roughly at 200 miles per hour. As for reaction speed, thanks to Miles' spider sense, he easily ranks at massively hypersonic, being able to react to actions under microseconds, can dodge automatic bullet fire, point-blank web shots, and attacks from Peter himself. The best reaction speed feat for Deku would have him being on par with a subsonic pistol bullet block. Since it was a pistol and not a rifle, the bullet wouldn't be traveling as fast, but it is still pretty impressive in its own right. As for strength, this is another category where Miles has a considerate edge in. He was seen lifting a moving truck, and if this truck was empty, it can weigh roughly 10,000 pounds. If it was full of furniture or products, that 10,000 can easily push close to 15,000 pounds. As for striking strength, in just one punch, he was able to make the ultimate Green Goblin bleed. This is the same Goblin who killed Peter. At most, this is a city level feat, but I don't want to rank it that high as it was only blood and not a KO. So it is safe to rank this as a small town class feat. For Deku, his best lifting feat comes from lifting All Might, who weighs roughly 562 pounds, but thanks to his extraordinary leaping ability, his squatting strength is much more impressive. Many athletes condition themselves with squatting to help their leg muscles for aerial lift. If we use LeBron James as an example, who is one of the most well-conditioned athletes on the planet,
just travel?
He has a 40-inch vertical jump thanks to his 300-pound squats that he does constantly. If Deku has a 100
I get that, but I'm pretty sure he just traveled.
Using a direct scale,
I don't watch sports. I'm just guessing.
But I'm going to slice that by 45% since Deku is
If
much
he traveled,
lighter than
let me know in the
this
comments
would mean
just so I
Deku
can be
has
sure.
enough strength to jump 100 feet, this should translate to roughly 5,000 pounds of squatting. Deku's best striking strength feat is roughly multi-city block level, as with one strike he was able to cause considerable damage to a mech, and the blow resulted in the collapse of multiple skyscrapers.
He broke his damn arm.
This was a chain reaction, but I'm not going to go there. Let's give the poor guy some stats. As for power and durability, this is yet another safe advantage for Miles. Being on par with Peter, holding down Miss Marvel, and taking on the ultimate Goblin, Miles should easily be on par with city-level power. His durability should also be on par, though I don't know if we could use a direct scale since Peter is older and more well-developed. Izuku is quite tricky because his best power comes at the price of durability, and his best durability comes at the price of power. So it's really tough at this point in training to showcase max durability and max power at the same time and then compare them to Miles' maxes. Because realistically, you'll never see the two maxes be matched together for Izuku. It's either one or the other. But being able to tank multiple large explosions from Bakugo and being able to take a beating from an held back All Might, it should be safe to say that Deku has large building level durability. And his best power output is up for grabs. His 100% full count might be larger than Multi-City for an unrealistically short amount of time before it does self-harm. So in a realistic battle sense, I'm going to have to bring up that mech destruction feat as a higher end scale. And even if we go higher, it's hard to see anything be above small town level at this point in time, which yet again lands an edge for Miles. The categories where Deku holds advantages over Miles is intelligence and experience. For starters, Deku is older and much more well studied in the art of being a hero. He's taken notes all his life and actually received hands-on training on a consistent basis. Most of Miles' intel comes from old Peter Parker videos, and during the majority of his life, he rejected the notion of wanting to be a hero, so this is the one category where Deku can try to take an advantage of, which will make the fight interesting. Some X factors to consider are Miles' ability to turn invisible and his range attacks. Miles can very easily use his invisibility to land an ambush-styled attack on Deku, and since Deku is mainly an
there he goes again, talking about stuff that he could have done that didn't happen in the video.
Assault of web blasting before things go close. Overall, while it can can be argued that Deku is a smarter and more skilled fighter, Miles is statistically superior in nearly every way, and over time, the more power Deku uses, the more dangerous the battle becomes for him. It's important to know that this isn't exactly a stomp for Miles. Deku will be a challenge, but eventually, the battle will play into Miles' favor, making the winner of this Rumble, Miles Morales. Though it shouldn't go without saying that both characters are still young and developing, so if you want to see an end-of-series rematch, all you have to do is like this video. If this video gets 3,000 likes,
I think that video was pretty cut and dry.
Reevaluate everything in the future once all feats are set in stone. Don't forget to
so basically he'll make another video where Deku wins and then explain why that happened.
And that bonus animation put together by Josh Medley.
Alright, let's stop right there because I don't want to know who's next. Because there's not a 100% guarantee that I'd watch it. Because like I've said in the other videos, that if anybody has watched them, not all the characters in these series interest me. Yeah, that was an interesting fight. Like I said, I really didn't know which way to go on it. Because I know about Midoriya, but I don't know anything about Miles Morales. Obviously, Miles Morales whooped his ass. I mean, I know about Spider-Man, I know about Peter Parker, but I just didn't know about, you know, the Miles Morales version of him. I didn't know if there were any huge differences, minor things, major things. I just don't know. Sorry. Like I said, if I'm late on that, then I'm late on that. It is what it is. But another interesting fight. It was definitely a good one. And on to the next time when I have time. So until then, peace.